Man, I look tired. I think I am tired. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm in a new filming location mainly because I just wanted to get my tree. I just put it up. Isn't it cute? I love this time of year, this season, the holiday, the festivities, and I just got to capture this on film at least once. I don't know if I'm gonna stay here, but because I'm like in a new setup, like I'm looking at the camera, but I just feel like I'm off-centered. Anyway, let's get down to business. I'm here to recap. You want to know why? Because I usually have it set up there. I am here to recap Sister Wives. This is episode 3, entitled Not Social But Very Distant. I thought it was a good episode mainly because it went by so quick. It was just like boom, 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 done. And usually when I watch this show, it can drag on and I find myself like clicking the time to see like how much is left of the show. 23 minutes. God, jeez, get on with it. Anyway, so because the shows seem to go by quick, I think this will be a quick review too. So let's jump into it if I can focus. Okay, maybe if I move that out of the way. I had to flip the camera because I need to look here. Anyway, I don't think I'm ever gonna film in this spot again, but you can see the tree. Anyway, so the episode actually opened with the wives and Cody getting together at Mary's house so they can once and for all stake their claim on the plot of land they each want on Coyote Pass. Remember, Surveyor Mike came and he divvied it up. So now they are going to, finalize where everybody's gonna be. Finally, I mean, it's been a long time coming, better late than never. What is it, like 3 years now? Anyway, so right away, Janelle jumps in and says she wants to go first. She wants to make it known exactly what she wants. She's ready. She brought her little white flip paper chart board that they always bring to every family meeting so they can write notes. Do they ever go back and read those notes? I doubt it, but I digress. It's such like a classroom thing. Anyway, she says that she needs a big plot of land because she needs room for her greenhouses, and also she cannot be in the shade. She can't be in the trees because her greenhouses and her vegetables need light. So she would really prefer to be on lot number 4. Now remember, we have 2 larger lots, 4 and 5, and then 3 smaller ones in the trees. So who's next? Who wants to speak next? None of the wives do. They all want to wait to hear what everybody else has to say. I don't know why. They're just so scared of just saying what it is they want and they need. Why can't one of them say, I want plot 5? No, I want plot 5, and then negotiate and hash it out and no. Anyway, what Robin will reluctantly agree to do is tell everybody what she doesn't want. Okay, number 1, she doesn't want the pond. Well, Robin, that was never an option because everybody has agreed that none of the wives can have the pond. It has to go to Cody, who, remember, wants his own parcel of land with his own house. That can be the family house, and thus making the pond accessible to everybody. All right. Secondly, Robin does not want to be in the trees. All right, so where does this leave her? Well, it leaves her with the other large plot, number 5, next to Janelle. And what we're really watching happen here unfold is the women just agreeing to the plots that Cody has chosen for them when they went out to survey the land. Next up is Mary. She says that she doesn't need a big part of the land. She doesn't need a big lot. She wants to be in the trees. She wants a small house, so she's perfectly fine with lot number 2, which is the small one in the middle in the trees, sandwiched between the one with the pond on top and on the bottom, which is where Christine is left. So Christine shares that she's kind of bummed because when they first bought this land, the way they envisioned divvying it up, she made it well known that she really wanted a view of the hill, of the mountain. Remember the mountain that Mary was trying to get her to focus on? Just look at the mountain, forget all life's tragedies and troubles and just focus on that mountain. Well, it sucks that they're not even gonna let her have a mountain view. But Christine says if she can't have the mountain view, the next best thing is trees, she says, because trees add value to a property. So she lets them all know that she's perfectly fine with taking lot number 3. And I think it was Janelle and Robin are asking her, like, really? Are you sure? You're sure you're okay with that? Or are you just trying to convince yourself? What a dumb question. I can answer that for you. Yes, she's trying to convince herself. It is no secret that Christine wants to move back to Utah. She doesn't really want to build there. And so she is honest with them and tells them, yeah, I am kind of trying to convince myself because I want to be a team player and, I want to get us building on this. I don't want to be the one that's like, holding us back. So yeah, it's fine. And really, I think the women should just be happy, happy that she's agreed to this, because really, ultimately, it's they let it be known, I can't remember who, really, the land that has the best view of the hill would be Janelle's. Would Janelle be willing to give that to Christine if it would really make her happy? I don't know. I think Janelle said she would, but what I think is going on here is Christine, when she told Mary that she can't do marriage with Cody anymore, she meant that. That was not a throwaway, off the cuff, in the heat of the moment, something she just said. I think it was a real honest moment that was captured, and whether she knows it consciously or it's still sort of subconscious, I think she knows she's leaving. She doesn't plan to build on this land. She doesn't plan to stay in Flagstaff. So it's really not worth the fight, for the land that has the best view of the mountain. She's just sort of going through the motions, and she says as much. So right now, it's all settled. And if I forgot to mention, the wives, they're being, kind of silly, and they're joking with each other, and they're laughing. And Cody's just sitting there like a sourpuss, saying in his confessional, this isn't funny. This isn't a laughing matter. He doesn't understand why they're joking. It's just so stressful to him. But the women, now that they've all agreed on where they're gonna be, they're excited. Robin's like on the verge of tears. What else is new? They all look to Cody like, okay, Cody, so are you happy like where you are? And he looks at them and it's just like, do I have a choice? Well, no, Cody, this time you don't have a choice. Since everybody agrees that none of the wives can have the pond, and you insist on having your own piece of the land, this is what you're left with. It's kind of like, this is where the chips fell, and this is what you get. And I think he's kind of annoyed because he feels like the choice was made for him. But also he says that his specific parcel of the land, it doesn't have like any resale value. It's not like an asset, which doesn't make sense to me because his is the one with the pond. I would imagine people, if they were interested in buying land there, a pond would be an asset. Or is it because he feels like he can never sell it because the pond is the family pond? The thing, okay, this is the thing. Because also, I feel like I'm all over the place. The conversation really started, before they got into what pieces of land they wanted, with Robin stating that, each wife, the land she chooses, like right now, and she builds on, is her land outright, so that she can leave it as an inheritance to her children, when she passes away someday. And she says it's just like the most clear-cut, easiest way to, handle this financially and to be fair. Mary agrees. Janelle says it's just not really how the families operated, but didn't they each own their own piece of land and house when they were in Vegas? And to go further, Christine says that she's never really thought about inheritance or any of this because they've never put roots down anywhere or had anything worth leaving as an inheritance. Again, what is she talking about? Didn't they each wife own her house in Vegas? This shouldn't be like a new concept to them that they have to agree on. But what's interesting is that when it feels like when they bought this land, to build on, the Brown family compound, it was sort of the idea that this land would be in the family, and maybe later on, if kids wanted to like live there, they could build on the land too, and it would just always be in the family. But really, if it is what they say it is, each wife owning her own plot of land, then Christine could effectively sell her land without even building on it, and somebody could come on and build a house and live on the Brown family compound. Or later on, let's say, if Mary were to pass away, her house goes solely to Mariah, not Cody at all, because they're not married, and Mariah could sell that piece of land, and now there's somebody else living on it, and it sort of defeats the purpose, I feel, as to why they invested in this land and the idea they had. But I mean, I guess that's all kind of just blown up, their whole like family motto and their mission statement, because everything's just in such turmoil. Is it even worse? I know they have a vision, or they had a vision, and I just think they're so off track. Are they ever going to build on this land? I don't know. And Cody goes on, because he's talking about how his land, he can't sell it, and the women, they have the freedom. If someday they want to leave, they can sell their land and go, and they can, and there's nothing he could do about it. You can have strangers living on this land that you once like wanted to make like, you know, brown land. and But Cody, I think he can leave. He has the same exact freedom these women have. They have touted from the start of their show, 11 years ago, that they all can leave if they want. They are there on their free will. Nothing's tying them there. And I feel like that goes for Cody as well. He's just not going to be the one to ever leave because he doesn't want to look like the bad guy. So instead, as I've mentioned before, he's going to passive aggressively push these women away. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I need to slow down. Anyway, that was it. Like I said, the women are all excited and happy because finally, you know, they're actually like getting somewhere maybe with building on this land. We'll see. You know, baby steps. So Cody invites Christine out to Coyote Pass so he can have a conversation with her. And normally I probably would have saved this part of the recap to the end of my review because it felt sort of like the climax of the episode, but I want to talk about it now because I want to speak later to the way Christine will move and the behavior she has, you know, after this specific conversation. It makes more sense. Just go with me, okay? So he invites Christine out so he can talk to her. I thought, you know, this was going to be the conversation about, you know, him taking the wives' temperatures and how everybody feels, but remember, Robin has instructed him not to bring up the wives and how they feel and throw them under the bus and blame them for not wanting to move. Christine doesn't really feel like meeting up with Cody. She doesn't really want to talk to him. She's really not in the mood, but we have a show to film and she's agreed to it. So she shows up. Right away, Cody does apologize for the way he acted when they all had the conversation about Utah on Coyote Pass. He says, you know, when we had our initial conversation over the phone about moving, I was real giddy, I was really excited, and that's probably what you were expecting when we all met up, and instead I was just very stoic. Stoic is the word he uses, and he tells her it was probably, you know, really confusing to you, not what you were expecting. In the moment, to his face, Christine thanks him for the apology. She tells him, yeah, thank you, because it was really hard to hear. But in her confessional, where she's always much more candid and honest, she basically calls bullshit on Cody. That, you know, she's offended that he's using the word stoic when really he was just being an ass. And she felt betrayed because he was so giddy on their conversation. She fully expected them to be a team when they met up with the other wives and convinced them to move back to Utah, and she doesn't even really believe his apology. This is frustrating because we're watching basically a marriage breakdown. It's a sad sight to see because they don't communicate, and when they do, it's real miscommunication going on. So she thanks him for the apology, and then he tells her that, you know, he's spoken with the other wives and there's a lot of mixed emotions. Wrong word to use, Cody. Because Christine hears mixed emotions and she takes that to mean that the wives have mixed feelings about moving back to Utah, when that's not at all what that is. I think he meant mixed emotions in the sense of nobody wants to move back, but the emotions are conflicting, mixed up, because we feel so bad that Christine's so unhappy and that, you know, it's unsettling. Maybe he should have said there's unsettling emotions because of how you feel, but he doesn't really clarify, and she gets all excited, like, mixed emotions. You're having conversations like, so I mean, like, Utah, is it a possibility? Is it on the table? And no, Christine, it's not on the table. It's never really was on the table, but he's not direct with her in that way because remember, Robin made him promise not to bring up the other wives, but he already did, but he doesn't want to get specific with Christine on how each and every one of them feel. You know, Janelle is adamantly not going to go back, and Mary could maybe be convinced, and Robin cannot. He's promised not to move her again. So instead, he just wants he wants to convince Christine that Flagstaff is the best place, and he wants Christine just to figure this out and make it okay with herself, get to the root of why it is you don't really want to be here. But then Cody shares that he suspects it's really not about Flagstaff, that Christine has never been happy, you know, living with or near other wives. She wasn't happy in Utah, Vegas, or Flagstaff, and Christine then says that, and she keeps saying throughout the episode, her and Cody are not in a good place in their marriage. And she thought when they left Utah and they got to Vegas that their marriage would improve, and it never did. And it made me wonder, was their marriage in a bad place when they were in Utah? I mean, I don't know. And nobody really does. We're not in this marriage. I can't say. And, because my first thought was, well, I mean, when they were in Utah and the show first started, they were having a baby. And I know that doesn't really mean anything, but I mean, clearly they were still intimately together. And again, I guess that's not really indicative of what's really going on. But what I think the real issue is, the real crux of this problem that Christina's having is I don't think it's about Robin. There, I said it. She's never been the same since Robin came into the family. You have to remember, she was the third and last wife for like 14, 13 years. And she'd never experienced a new wife coming in the way Janelle and Mary had. And I just don't think it ever settled in her spirit and her soul. And she's been very vocal about this. She's had conversations with Robin. She's apologized to Robin for the way she treated her, because it really isn't Robin's fault per se. This is just the nature of a polygamous marriage. And I don't know what it feels like. I can only imagine, and I can only liken it to, you have to think about where Christine was when Robin came into the family. She was pregnant, then she had the baby, she was, baby weight, postpartum, and then you have your husband courting this new, younger, some might say prettier wife, and you have to watch him be all googly-eyed and acting like a schoolboy in love, and that has to be hard no matter what, whether you're in a polygamous relationship or you have a husband who's cheating on you, whatever it is that, I know that these women, it's easy to say, well, they signed up for that, well, they knew what to expect, and that's true, but you still have feelings, you're still a woman, you're still human. It's something that they have to work through. And I don't think she ever worked through it. I don't think she was ever okay with it. She was used to being the young one and the last one. And I felt like when the show first started, they seemed to be the most, Christine and Cody, like physically connected. I mean, in the beginning, and I watched the first few seasons last year because I was going to review last season and I dropped the ball, but when I watched those first few seasons, he seemed to be in really good standing with all of them, and he was affectionate with all of them when he was alone with each one, hugging them and kissing them. But to me, it seemed like he and Christine had the most sort of physical attraction and chemistry, and Christine always just seemed so like hot for Cody. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I just, even saying the word hot for Cody is like making me uncomfortable. But you know what I mean? And I just don't think she ever just, like I said, she never settled in Robin, and I don't think it's personal. I really don't think it's personal. I think it's, like I said, it's the nature of polygamy, and she never got over it. So in Utah, she's the basement wife. He's not showering in her shower. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And now we have Robin coming in, and now we're in Vegas, and I'm seeing him have children with her, and he's, a newlywed, and now we're in this really bad marriage, the worst it's ever been. I mean, yeah, marriages, they have their ups and downs, but it's the worst it's ever been. And I see what's happened with you and Mary. I'm not really encouraged that you're going to want to fix this with me, because you didn't fix it with Mary. And it doesn't take like a psychologist to figure out the quandary we have here. Is that I argue that the reason why Cody is so fine to just not be in a full marriage with Mary anymore is because he has other wives he can go to. I've said it before. Cody is all Mary has as far as a partner and all that Christine has. You know what I'm trying to say? Hand-holding, date night, sex, all that stuff, cuddling on the couch and watching a movie. Cody's all they have. So, yes, Mary wants to fix this so she can get those things back, because otherwise she's sitting alone in a house by herself quarantining for months on end. And the same thing with Christine. But Cody isn't in any kind of rush, and there's no urgency for him to work these things out with these wives, because he has other wives he can go get those things from, Robin and Janelle. And again, Christine brings up that it is difficult to have to live in a house or live next door to a wife that Cody is in a great place with when you're not, and you feel rejected. I don't know how else to say it. That's what the problem is here. And the other big problem is they're not communicating. Like I said, he tells her, and in Cody's defense, I feel like in this moment he's trying, or at least he's seeming to try, because he asks Christine, explain it to me. Tell me what it is about Utah. Help me to understand. Is it because your dad's there? And she just shuts down and says, like, I don't want to talk about this. This isn't a safe conversation. This isn't a safe conversation. And she gets him and walks away. And I'm trying to be fair. You know me if you watch my reviews. I try to be balanced, and I try to put myself in people's shoes. And I'm trying to be sensitive to Christine, but I really don't understand this concept of safe conversations. It's not safe because your feelings might get hurt. Your marriage is falling apart. Like, there's no avoiding that. You know what I mean? And I don't know why she can't just say, I guess it's because maybe this is private. This is a real marriage. Whether you agree or not, these two people have been together for 25 plus years. They have kids. And it's a marriage and it's falling apart, and we have cameras in our face. And I would understand if she said, this isn't the right time, this isn't the right place, because this is reality. And I know we drum up storylines and drama, but this is really a marriage that is falling apart. It will eventually implode altogether. But for her just to get up and walk away and say it's not safe, and that's not just Christine, it's a lot of these wives. We're gonna get it next episode with Mary and Janelle for the damn 1,000th time, and how, there's a wall going. It's just like, say what it is. And Janelle brought this up last season when she was going around to each wife trying to find a way to get this family on the same page and have better communication. And Christine would say, well, sometimes, it's just not safe, and so we hold back. And Janelle would say, don't hold back. Hurt my feelings. Some things you just gotta say what it is, but they don't. Why can't Christine, and maybe she has, privately, tell Cody, you know what? I thank you for apologizing, because I was really pissed in that moment. I thought you were gonna have my back. You were excited, you were giddy, and you threw me under the bus, and I don't appreciate it. And I'm not ready to build here yet, because we aren't in a good place, and I don't know that I wanna stay with you right now. And it also doesn't help it being rubbed in my nose how much better your relationship is with, let's say, Robin, who you're spending so much time with, and you can conveniently blame this virus on. I'm really rambling and I'm really going off, but this is a sad situation, because I don't like for marriages to break up. I don't like for families to break up and fall apart. And I'm not saying that it would be easy to fix these things, but you have to both want to do that. And I don't think Christine really wants to either. I think Christine, she wants somebody to be as excited about her as Cody is over Robin, to be googly-eyed with her, to be giddy over her, to want to spend time with her. And she's not getting that from Cody. And like I said, by the looks of the way he's acting with Mary, it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better. It's just, obligations and going through the motions for both of them at this point. She gets up, she walks away, because she says she doesn't trust Cody. She doesn't even view him as a friend right now, so why would she open up? Again, maybe they've had these conversations in private. I'm sure they have. And Cody's just sitting there confused, was it something I said? We were just getting to the start of our conversation, and she walked off. So yeah, what can he do if she doesn't want to talk, and she doesn't want to communicate, and she doesn't want to sit? It's sad, you guys. It's sad to watch. It's sad. But it's real life too. So I think I got a little ranty in that last segment, so I'll try to calm down. The next scene we get is Christine invites the whole family over to her house because she says she wants to get really all the kids together so they can discuss Coyote Pass and the land and how it's been divvied up. And Robin's confused, and I would have been too, but really that's just the guys to get everybody over because she has a family announcement to make. She has everybody sitting outside, distance. This is the second time the whole family has gotten together, and she has the TV screen set up outside for the announcement. Nobody knows yet, but some people can kind of guess. She says when it comes to Cody, she can compartmentalize. What's going on with them in their marriage is in one compartment. What's going on with the family and the kids is a whole nother compartment. So she doesn't have any problem inviting him over and just sort of being cordial with him, you know, distant. So McKelty and her husband pop up on the screen. You know, McKelty is Cody and Christine's daughter. Her husband, I think his name is Tony. They live in Utah, and they share that they're expecting a baby in March of 2020. So I guess she had the baby not too long ago. At this point, they didn't know what the gender was. Obviously she had the baby. You let me know if it's a boy or girl. I don't follow any of these people on social media, so I have no idea. And everybody's just really excited. They said that they did have names picked out. If it's a girl, Avalon. If it's a boy, Antonio. If it's a boy or a girl, did they go with those names? Let me know if you know. And everybody's just really excited. It was a really quick segment. All the wives chimed in with that. When it comes to the grandkids, there's really no biological differentiating, you know, because I guess when with their biological kids, like these are their biological kids, you know, Cody always refers to Janelle's boys and Robin's kids, but when it comes to the grandbabies, they're everybody's. They don't feel any disconnect from them. They're all, I think Robin's called Bubby, Christine's Oma, Janelle's grandma, and remember, like Mary, she's nothing. She's given it no thought at all. So that was really cute. It's always nice when you see the family get together in these kind of scenarios where they're excited and they're happy and they're operating like as a happy family unit. This will be the last we see of it in this episode. So the episode ended with Christine inviting Cody and the wives over to her house so she could go over Isabelle's surgery. It's happening in a few days, so she wants to go over the logistics of the traveling and the procedure itself. She says that after the surgery, Isabelle's gonna have to be there for 5 days recovery, and then she's gonna have to be close by for some check-ins, and then they're gonna have to quarantine, and so then they'll be out there for a little while longer. So when all is said and done, they'll be gone. I think she said like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks, a long time. She also mentions that when the surgery is done, that Isabelle might be 2 to 3 inches taller, which is kind of crazy because then she'll be taller than Cody. And by the way, Isabelle is beautiful. I think she is so pretty. She's just like fresh faced, and I wish I was that tall. But she's not just pretty on the outside. She's a beautiful person on the inside. She's kind. She's gracious. She's a loving daughter when she has every right to be not in this situation. But that's, what can I say? I'm petty. So the wives, you know, they wish her well. Robin actually asks her, what are you most looking forward to after your surgery? And Isabelle's like, not being in constant pain all the time. I mean, which was really the point when Christine and Isabelle first brought up having surgery last season to Cody. You know, it's because she's in constant pain. And so again, the wives, they send Isabelle off. They kind of give their social distance hugs and ask Isabelle to, you know, keep in contact, let us know how it's going and how you're doing. And they're just really happy for her that, you know, she's getting this taken care of. So they leave, the wives, and then Christine leaves Isabelle and Cody alone to talk. And this is where Cody backpedals and tries to spin, you know, his behavior from last season. Because remember, he was trying to tell Isabelle, just can she deal with the pain and just kind of suck it up until COVID's done, and then maybe they can go get the surgery. And he actually suggested she go alone. Yeah, I don't think that went over well with everybody. So now he's saying that he just wasn't aware of the daily grind of Isabelle's pain, to which I ask, why didn't you know? How come you didn't know? Because you're not around a lot. But he'll say it's because they're not adhering to his, you know, COVID rules, but we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. And he says that when Christine brought up having a surgery, he really just thought she was trying to get a vacation out of all this, which is so, doesn't even make any sense. And really, he was kind of taking it out on Christine. You know, I guess Isabelle's just sort of the collateral damage in all of this, and he was being insensitive to her. And he says he just wishes he'd have had a one-on-one with Isabelle. because you don't believe Christine when she's saying she's in pain. You don't believe when Isabelle's sitting there crying. Anyway, this is really frustrating to me because my heart really broke for Isabelle. And so when they're alone, he's telling Isabelle, you know, I really wish I could be there. I'm really sorry I can't be there, but you understand, right? You get it, right? Like, really, you understand? And she's like, yeah, I get it. Yes, I understand. I know. And he asks her, so, you know, you're not going to grow up to be like a bitter housewife because your dad wasn't there for you. So he is aware, and he even says he knows when kids are sick or they're not feeling well or they're having surgery, how important it is to have a parent there for you. And so he knows how he's sort of letting Isabelle down. He's very well aware of it. And like I said, Isabelle is very gracious and merciful in letting him off the hook, because really deep down she is upset about it, because in her confessional she's crying, and this is what broke my heart, because she's asking, why can't he just drop everything to be there for me, because I need him. You know, she still sees Cody as a really strong, brave, that's her dad, that's her hero, but she doesn't understand why he's letting fear just conduct his life this way. And I kind of agree, because, you know, my dad, who's I know is no longer with me, never, you couldn't have stopped him from coming with me if I were in the situation. If it came down to, you know, only one parent can go, my dad would have told my mom, I'm going with her. I'm going to take care of this. Because my dad was just always the parent that was there when we were sick. He was just more maternal. And it's not that my mom wasn't. She just says that she had to take a step back or we would have been smothered to death by both of them. And so it really hurt my feelings to see her so upset with Cody, and she has every right to be, because he should be there. And I don't understand, like, yeah, I don't expect him to go for all 6 weeks or however long it is, but why can't he be there for the initial surgery day and maybe a few days after and then come home and quarantine? I think people would understand that. This is a major surgery. They all want the best for Isabelle. But, you know, Robin chimes in her confessional that, you know, Cody has these set of rules when it comes to COVID and social distancing, and other wives just don't adhere to it the way she does, basically 100%. And that's why he spends so much time with her. I wonder if she pushed or suggested that maybe he should go. And I think this is where Gabe is coming in and saying, like, are these rules his or are they Robin? And because Cody says the reason he's not going is because, number one, you know, the threat of possibly catching COVID, and then also because, you know, the family. He's got to be here for the family. But, I mean, we know you don't see Mary, so you can cross her off the list. You've banished Gabriel and Garrison to the backyard apartment because they're out going to school and working, you know, essentially. So who are we really talking about here? I think Janelle would be understanding if you didn't come around because you had to quarantine after being with Isabelle and her surgery. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. But like I said, Isabelle lets him off the hook. She tells him, you know, yeah, she wishes he could be there. She'll really miss him, but she gets it. And he leaves. I don't even think they hug goodbye. That's just, I can't imagine. I can't, my father would never. And I'm not, am I shaming Cody's fathering skills? Maybe a little bit, because I don't agree with it. I think it's real messed up. So he goes out to the front yard because he's getting ready to go, and Christine kind of runs out with some paperwork that he has to sign, insurance stuff, and she hands it to him, and he's like, excuse me, your social distance. Is it very awkward, and just his tone of voice. He's annoyed, I think, because he doesn't look so, there's no way around it, though. He doesn't look good, and there's nothing he can do about it. So she's like, okay, cool. Like, she doesn't bat an eye. You know, after, I don't know if this is really out of sequence, this editing, but she really is compartmentalizing here. Like, you know, she's focused on taking care of Isabelle. She says she wishes Cody could be there for Isabelle's sake. But as far as her feelings, she could care less that he's not there. And it's maybe better that they have a little distance, and maybe that'll help. I don't think anything's going to help at this point. But she's very just like blasé, like, yeah, sign here. Yeah, no problem. Okay, well, you know, call you when we get there. Bye. You know, I think she's happy to get away, honestly, out of Flagstaff, away from Cody, away from the drama. And Cody's just frustrated and mad because he feels like he's really dropped the ball here. And, you know, he's sending his daughter off to have this major surgery, and he's not going. And I don't think it just makes him look bad. I think he feels bad about it. And he's just wondering if he's made the right decisions. And maybe he does have regrets on how he and the wives have handled this whole panorama, but there's really no going back now. This is where they're at, and this is what they have to deal with, and it is a mess. And that was the episode. I thought this would be a quick one. I don't think it is, because I got a little ranty, and it's probably all over the place, but it's because I have like a lot to say. And really, if I haven't mentioned it before, I say it all the time. These reality shows are like cartoons to me. You know, I know that storylines could be fabricated and drummed up for drama, but we are really watching a marriage fall apart, and it will ultimately end. And I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about it, but ultimately, this isn't my marriage. I don't know these people. I don't really have favorites. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just here to recap. So let me know what you think, though. Rate, comment, subscribe. How did you feel? Let me know. And I will see you next time. Bye.